We missed you.
We miss you so much. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, these Spice Girls.
Yeah. Hey, where are you?
That's amazing.
Where have you been?
Oh, okay. So yes, last time that we didn't manage to have our the Spice Girls session because I have like a vaccine, a few days before that, and then yeah, we got like myself, we got quite a side effect of that vaccine, right? That is also happened to you, no?
Yes, that's right. I had the vaccine 2 weeks ago and I was just down.
Yes. It has been crazy, right? And I'm so happy the three of us got the opportunity to be vaccinated. It's not the same for everybody in the world.
That's true.
And that precisely because the developed countries are blocking on a proposal of exemption of intellectual property rights for developing countries. So, who wants to explain a bit more and about the process and what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the situation, and also like a lot of like vaccine hoarding is also happening, right, in the developed
Yeah.
countries, and then us like for me, for instance, I'm living in Thailand, and then the vaccine rollout here is very difficult, and then we didn't even like get any vaccines coming from, for instance, the Pfizer, the Moderna, and all that,
Yeah.
right? And then even just to actually able to produce our own vaccine is also difficult, right? So
Mm.
that's also why the conversation about the suspension of the intellectual property rights or patent in terms of vaccine and any other medical, medicines and medical technology is very important. And then it's very appalling having to know that a lot of rich countries actually blocking the conversation, yeah, despite all
Yeah.
the demand, what kind of morality is that, like when we are talking about moral and
Yeah, the
ethics.
morality of profits. And I also
Exactly.
get very upset with rich countries who are always like, oh, yeah, you are corrupt. You don't understand development. And it's just because they're stealing everything from developing countries. And now they're not only hoarding vaccines, they're blocking the possibility of our developing countries to develop vaccines. And I just wanted to add as well what you said, because the vaccines that have been applied in the global south, many of them are not allowed in the EU
Exactly.
on
That's
migration. And
true.
now that is also a way to let us say to shelter themselves in a bunker of their own, save themselves from the pandemic while millions of people are dying. And
Yeah.
this is a crime against humanity. At this point, this is a crime against humanity that developed countries are enacting, and especially the EU now with this closing of the borders for specific types of vaccines that are only applied in the global south. It's also a way to say, don't contaminate us, don't. And the racism applied in the logic of vaccines to really block migration. So it's just obscene, the level. So if you are an activist in a developed country, please, this is something that you need to address in your own territory with your governments, right?
And to think that a lot of our governments are incurring huge amounts of loans, no, from private creditors, from different institutions in the name of pandemic response. Even here in the Philippines, now we have trillions, hundreds of trillions of loans that were acquired by this government supposedly to buy vaccines. But what we are having now, what's available, were the ones donated by the rich countries because they bought
Yeah.
so much and now they have
Yeah.
extra supply and they donate it through the COVAX facility. But our government is saying, oh, we have to borrow money again because we don't have a vaccine supply. So what is really happening, no? Um, no vaccines, a lot of debt, and a lot of problem for everybody.
Yes. And do you recall, like a month ago, the US has had to throw away 60 million AstraZeneca vaccines because they were expired, because the population was refusing to get vaccinated, and because they bought so much. And they
They
are,
bought so much.
as Rina is saying, they're hoarding vaccines and they don't want to acknowledge that. And it's all of those very elegant countries like Canada and all of the EU. And Canada has 4 times the number of its own population in vaccines. And we can have like a chart showing how many excess of vaccine has each of these rich countries, and it's obscene. And we are expecting now a negotiation to start happening again. Uh, and it's expected to last many months. So this is the time to be pushing on developed countries. And it is what is interesting as well is that the narrative internally in Europe, even for citizens, is like, oh yes, because our authorities are very responsible because
Mm.
they're protecting us. So that is like, this is very responsible of them to be prioritizing our health. It's no, they're prioritizing the profits of the pharma, the big pharma interests. So it's time for people to wake up. It's really the time, and for people in rich countries to wake up. We cannot just do all of the work in our global south activism.
And I think, the hypocrisy of this situation is that the rich countries hoarded the vaccines. Now they have an oversupply, and now they're looking good publicly because they're donating their excess vaccines to the poor countries, while at the same time making sure that, as you said, no, um, global south travelers, migrants, workers, etc.,
Yeah,
cannot enter their borders because they were not able to put the EU accredited vaccines or the US accredited vaccines. So I think it's all perverse that we
yeah.
really need to call this out.
Yeah. And I just wanted to highlight that since we're the Spice Girls and the activists behind all of this, just wanted to also emphasize the human factor in all of this, because we were ready to appear, but then Rina and Teter had a very negative impact of vaccines. And I myself would have had it, but I have an immune condition. So my doctors prepared my body like 2 weeks before, and then 2 weeks after. So it's really, I think, something about self-care, and also recognizing the exhaustion that takes on your body also to be an activist, and the extreme efforts we're doing in being under lockdown, and also facing all of these health challenges while humanity is happening there. So this is what resistance is looking now. And
Yes, that's true.
many people who's not having access to vaccines, and we're also mobilizing to stand in solidarity with them, to
Yeah.
not only to have access for them, for vaccines, but also for the vaccines applied in the global south to be recognized in the rich countries, because there are economic flows, the mobility of population that is only natural. And of course, because of the depletion in the global south, of all of the catastrophes happening, you cannot stop doing that if you are not taking care of the effects you're having in the rest of the world.
That's true.
That's
So
right.
why are we talking about vaccines now? I thought we were going to talk about the debt problem.
We were
Well,
gonna
everything
dance.
is connected.
Yes. Well, let us know who's ready to talk about that, because why is that so important? I mean, I have my debt, my personal debt, and it turns out that actually when we start engaging more in the issue of debt, people at the individual level and the family level have way too much debt, because we are also in a system that is forcing us to go into having loans with the bank, to mortgage our houses, etc., just to acquire elements for our survival. But turns out, as Tetet was saying, governments are also asking for loans. And now it turns out that there is a huge debt
Mm.
crisis it's really that it's not only about all countries, just this is a, let us say, an intimate issue, an inner affair. Now it's about to explode globally.
Yeah.
And
So
actually, Emilia, now
yeah,
that you're talking about it, having debts, it's like you're the one who's at fault here, no? Why are you in so much debt? Number
yeah,
one, you're not earning enough. Number two, you spend so much.
you're
Number three, you
greedy, you
don't know
want
how to
You're
everything.
greedy.
manage your
You don't
budget.
know how to manage your money, for
Yes,
instance.
Exactly. So
yeah.
that's the existing way of, that's how many would look at the debt problem, that it's a
Yeah.
management problem, that it's a consumption problem. No, you spend more than what you earn. So ultimately, it's your fault. And it's also your decision to find a way out of your own debt problem. But I don't think that works in real life, no, or globally also, because as you said, we are now in the brink of another explosion of a global debt crisis, and this is not the first time that the whole world is experiencing a debt crisis,
Mm.
no. I was born in the 1980s and I was already
No,
born
you
then.
were born
Oh,
in
sorry,
Oh
sorry.
yeah, yeah, I was born during the Rio Plus 20,
2000.
but I learned in
As an
school
activist.
I learned in school that there were already several moments, no, where the whole world actually experienced the explosion of this global debt crisis. No, it was in the 1980s, and then in recent history, in the 2007 and 2008 financial crash, and then now a lot of entities are sounding off the alarm bells that we are in the brink of another global debt crisis. So, what do you think about that? Why is it just a management problem?
I mean, I totally disagree with that. That's not only the management problem, but also the system. I'm just going to give you like some story of anecdote. I'm coming from Indonesia, yeah. And then do you know that the first debt that we have in Indonesia is actually coming from the legacy of the Dutch, which is like the colonizer, right? So they actually make it as a requirement to have like Indonesia independence, right? And then they say that to do that, you need to actually pay off the debt of Dutch, and then also have like pay all the loss that Dutch has been having because of the war. So can you imagine?
Mm,
So that is like one thing. There is like some fundamental issue here, right? About the issue of debt. That is the system that make there is a power dynamic, and then also there's some issue with the system. So I'm thinking that it's like totally is unfair. And then also I think that Amelia dropped off, no, a little bit. Yeah,
mm.
let's continue while
She's
we're waiting
coming
for
back.
it's coming
Welcome to the Tetet and Rhea show.
Yay! So you solved the problem of debt already while I was gone?
no,
Well,
I'm just
Rina just
saying.
mentioned one of them,
Oh,
no? Debt as a colonial legacy, no?
Yeah,
yeah.
Because of colonialism. I
yeah,
can also add more to that, no? Because the Philippines is also has been a colony, no, of the Spaniards, Americans, Japanese. I think the way this colonizer shaped our economies, it's really meant for us to be perpetually tied to their global, to their economies.
yeah.
Like we are doomed to exporting cheap agricultural products so that we can manufacture some goods, but we need imported inputs. No, in order for us to do whatever manufacturing, so there's always a budget deficit. Now, what we earn from exporting all our bananas and mangoes and what have you, it's not enough to cover for what our country needs and sustain our population. So, it's not just a colonial legacy, but it's continuing until the present.
Yeah, and just to explain people that a government can only have money from two sources to spend. either by revenue, and we will have another episode just on the revenue side on taxes, but also by getting a loan. If you don't get enough revenues from your own territories, then you have to ask for a loan. And so our governments have been asking for a lot of loans, and especially from, well, there are two. I was saying that a problem is lenders, and actually they are bigger problem than those who are borrowing. The lenders, you can be private or can be public, and the public lenders are just obscene in themselves, the IFIs, the international financial institutions, because they lend money but huge conditionalities. They say you cannot spend it on these, you have to spend it on these, you have to spend it on the private sector, you cannot spend it on your population, on health, on education. You actually need, well, first you have to spend it this way, and then they bring huge interest rates, and they ask governments, and in order for you to pay the interest rates, you have to stop allocating your budget, your national budget, into some sectors, and that's mostly the social spending. Cut expenses in health, in education, in popular programs that are benefiting the population in agriculture, or people with disabilities, or the chronic ill, or aging people. And so this is really very perverse, because countries are getting a loan to apply public policies in the benefit of its citizens, but then the conditionalities are saying you have to give it to the richer actors, and cut it from the population. And this is very burdening on women, because women are doing all of this unpaid domestic and care work. And when you cut spending on health, on education, who's going to do all those tasks? Well, women, of course. So
Mm.
it's really perverse, because all of the IFIs are relying on women to really absorb all of the depletion and retreat of the state. And in the case of the private lenders, they just can't do anything, get away with anything in their contracts, in submitting governments to a very harsh conditions in their contract. And when a government, for instance, many governments during the pandemic, they were unable to meet the contracts, these private lenders just file a lawsuit against our governments, and it's millions of dollars just because of the trial alone. And then, of course, those who are let us say, the authorities who are doing this trial, because they were previously lawyers of the private sector, and now through the revolving doors, they are now judging. They're always filing in favor of those private lenders, and the fees for our governments are so immense that we are also wanting to target that type of lawsuits that are called investor state
Mm.
dispute settlements,
Yeah.
because it's obscene. The private sector wins it all, whilst our poorer countries, who had in the beginning very few money, it's now drowning in debt, and it's not because of bad management.
And we're getting all excited now talking about the debt
I'm
problem.
sad.
It's not just about cutting spending on social services. That's a huge conditionality of these lenders, but they also restructure key sectors in our economy to serve the interests of their corporations, to
Yeah,
serve the interests of their own governments.
yeah,
Now, for instance, um, privatization, instead of health, education, being a public good, many countries like Indonesia, Philippines, and many in the global south have been told that you need to privatize those public services as a conditionality to get the loans. No,
That's
if you
crazy.
don't privatize, then you don't get these loans. We were
exactly.
also told you have to open up your economy, allow the entry of imports coming from their own countries,
Yeah,
profiting their own corporations.
exactly.
They say it's a tool for development, not liberalization. Or when they say you have to remove all regulations in energy, in water, so that they can raise prices. So it's like it's not just tightening our belt, but also undertaking comprehensive reforms in our economy so that we are forever dependent on loans and borrowing. So it's really a very, very vicious debt cycle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
it's
was, oh, go ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Rina.
Think,
Like, see, like how agitated we are because of what that also said. Like, I just want to set like some examples on what that said, right? Because it's totally true. It's happening, for instance, in Nepal, for instance, like World Bank is actually give like 100 million credit on the name of COVID to actually to have the priority to reform the country's energy sector. Yeah, this is weird actually. And then why energy, right? And then they actually really putting the money there. And then of course this is debt. And then the issue on the energy sector in Nepal, they're actually really highly dependent on hydropower dam that is evidently is actually give like displace many of the indigenous peoples communities in Nepal, for instance. And then also like a lot of like example like that, like for instance how the World Bank is also provided like around 1 billion loan for India, right? So they say that, oh, we're very nice, we're going to give you, like we need to have like India to be prepared for the COVID-19 and then able to address that. But one condition that they put is really about how they actually need to open up the
mm,
public health in India for the private sector, right? So
Exactly.
that is really
Exactly.
really concerning. And in Mongolia, one more in Mongolia, actually, we also see how is this funny, we have an issue. The crisis that we have right now is not only because of the COVID, of course, that we have the crisis even before that. That crisis is also happening before COVID-19 happened, right? But it's really, really,
Yeah,
like for me, like not logical when you try to address the issue of the COVID-19 with another crisis, which is like
exactly.
that issue and loan, right? Like
mm.
so that is like what happened. Like for instance, in Mongolia, over 90%, like recovery fund coming from the international financial institution is in the form of loan. Even that
Yes,
UN in the region is also saying the same thing. Like most of it, 90% is actually in the form of debt, and then
yes.
only like a little bit that is actually grant. Yeah.
Yes. And I also wanted to say that it's like there is a narrative that colonialism happened many, many years ago, 100 years ago. And no, the dynamics of that are colonial dynamics now. It's not neo-colonialism, it's first colonialism, or as someone said in our past webinar, is hyper colonialism. It's really obscene. So that is one thing that I wanted to say. And on the issue on climate finance, all of these developed countries, INGOs, the rich organizations are saying on the one hand, oh yes, let's add more conditionalities on climate finance. So if you're gonna give money to developed countries, add more conditionalities to them. It's like, thank you, colonizer, for helping us. It's really like, go and review your colonial mind and then go back to do your activism because you're not helping at all. So that is one thing we wanted to say. And the second is really all of those noble discourses from rich countries. Oh, we're giving climate finance. 70% of the climate finance is coming by means of loans with very high interest rates for the small island developed states and the least developed countries. That is the poorest countries, and those who are suffering the harshest impacts of climate change, who have no deal in generating the carbon emissions, are now paying all of the negative effects. Plus, they need money to face those impacts, and they get the highest interest rates, and they get the harshest conditions to pay those debts. So it's really obscene and disgusting everywhere you see it.
Which is why we're saying that the debt problem is not only an economic justice issue,
Exactly.
it's a social justice issue, a gender justice issue, a climate justice issue, because
Yeah.
it really has structural, it's deeply rooted, no, in the kind of system that we have at the moment. And it's not just an economic issue that can be addressed by proper management. So it has very deep historical, colonial, but also a continuing legacy of this kind of everything that's wrong about this system. The debt problem is one huge manifestation of why this system is such a failure.
Yeah. But what are we doing as activists to fight that? Yoo-hoo!
Fight already, I still want to explain. No, there's one more thing, Amelia. It seems like,
Oh, okay.
is it only the global south that owes a debt to creditors, to the global north? I think we need to challenge that narrative that it's only the poor countries
Yeah.
that owes, some kind of debt to rich countries.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Well, I just wanted to say, of course, rich countries are the ones that are more indebted. I think the US now is the country that is more indebted at the moment. But also wanted to say that those engaged in the lending activities are the rich countries and have a club, a rich boys club, which is called the Paris Club. And they are the ones who are emitting all of the decisions. Or are we restructuring a debt? Are we helping a country to go through their crisis of debt? And rather than that happening at the UN, because that would be like a neutral entity, so that we can have a proper neutral discussion. It is the lenders, they have their arbitration policies and the arbitration decisions, so that they are the ones who decide. And of course, it's like patron and labor and
Mm.
workers, because they refuse to do collective negotiations and they negotiate one by one. So everything depends also on private interest. For instance, it's like, oh, this country now is going to buy me, allow my investors with lower tax payments. So if you do that, then I will restructure the debt in a faster way for you. So it's always a give and take, and there is no neutrality on that. So not only rich countries also are indebted, they are also the arbiters of the debts of the poorer people. So it's really obscene. I'm getting so upset now.
Oh my gosh. But I think we also need to highlight, no, that it's actually rich countries who have historically plundered, our countries, that owes us, for they're rich now because they colonized us. They are
Yeah,
rich now because they took out all our resources. They're
yeah,
rich now because they profit from, cheap labor of our migrant workers. So it's
Yeah.
actually a historical debt that the rich countries owe to the global south.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also a historical debt because they have damaged the entire world. I mean, for instance, Cambodia's forests are owned in 80% by rich and wealthy countries. I think it's Norway's investors who own 80% of the forest in Cambodia. So Norway is like, oh yeah, look at how we are protecting our forests, while they're really depleting everything in our southern countries. So this is something that we need to say, because the rich countries are really having a historical debt on climate change, on
Mm.
colonialism, on the impact of concentration of wealth that they're having. So it's really they just really should start working on paying their debts so that humanity can really survive.
Yeah. Yeah. And then may I also add something? This is maybe like another
No,
element, but
done. We're done, Rina. We finished this conversation.
because I was still and also the
Yes, you have
issue
the
of
floor.
that, and also the international financial institution is also like really tied also to the political part of the country, right? Like for instance, like my country, Indonesia. Before, we are the one of the founder of the non-alignment movement, if you know the non-alignment movement, right? And then the first, like president of Indonesia saying very, very clear, go to hell with your aid, yeah, in with the to the IMF, right? That time, because like we actually know what is actually the politics behind it, what is the political movement behind it, and etc. But then after that came, like the new president that is more capitalist, and etc. And then all the talking about the economic growth, and then how this international financial institution is also at play in the national political scheme and scenario, right? So I'm just want to say that, like there are also linkage of that, and then how we are indebted so much, like for that time, that Suharto, I know maybe Marcos is also the same, yeah, in
Exactly.
Indonesia, it's Suharto who said that Bapak Pembangunan, which is means the father of the development, because during his time the development is also coming in, like all everything like built, but of course it's loans and debt, and then
Yeah.
now we need to pay, right? So
So
Yeah.
that means we also got into a big debt problem because of these are illegitimate debts taken on by dictators who just
Yes.
want to build nice monuments for themselves, to be remembered by. And in the Philippines, that's true. You mentioned Marcos. Until now, the Filipino people are paying. We are servicing the debt for a nuclear power plant that hasn't been operated at all. So Marcos has been dead for like what, 30 years already, but we're still paying for the loans for that nuclear power plant that never benefited the people. So there's a lot of aspects, no? Historical debt, ecological debt, there's also the illegitimate dictator debts. So
Yeah.
illegitimate dictator debt.
yes,
A new category.
yes, we can always invent, no? Because we are
Yes.
so
I love it.
angry about this situation. But what is even more appalling is that in the face of all of these debt problems, the Rich Boys Club, the IMF, the World Bank, they are saying, oh, we're so kind. We understand the situation. Times are hard. So we are going to allow you not to pay your debts until the end of 2021. So we're so kind, huh? Don't pay your debts first. Meanwhile, you want some more loans? Then we can give you more loans. So it's like, this is the kind
Yeah.
of response that we get, no, from all of these rich countries and international institutions. Don't pay
Yeah.
your debts for the meantime.
I wanted to say hello to Goa Tabula, and we're also standing in solidarity with Palestine, and also Senas, who's here, and
Sanas!
yeah. Mwah. So she's now taking the category of illegitimate dictator debts back to the women's major group. So,
Yes.
but just wanted to say that before we go into the solutions that the global movement is having, is that the Jubilee Debt campaign is saying that if only the IMF, the one of the international financial institutions, if only the IMF would spend 7% of its gold reserve that it acquired last year, not the entire reserve of gold of the history, just the 7% of the reserve of gold that it acquired last year, it would be enough to fund cancellation of all debt payments by the poorest countries for the next 15 months.
Mm.
The money is there. The money is there, but there is just not political will, not even by those institutions that are there to supposedly support the poorest countries and to conceive a better sustainable development paradigm. It's really for their own profits, and they are like the pet of the rich countries, just acting in the interest of the rich countries, because they are the major donors of the IFIs, the international financial institutions. So really, all of that work that the World Bank and the IMF are doing is only to support the profiting of rich countries. And that is something that we need to say. They're not helping the humanity. They're not doing anything with their good of their hearts. They're really doing also obscene business while the humanity is facing one of the biggest crises of its entire history. So now we're ready for the solutions.
Let's show it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So let me tell you before, for the people out there, because global activism is precisely trying to deal with all of these issues. We're saying this is not something that is going to be solved back home or with individual governments. This is something that relates precisely to the global situation. And we think the UN should be the proper space to deal with this situation. It would be a neutral space where lenders are not doing the arbitration and lending the money at the same time, where rich countries are not paying the IFIs to file under their own conditions, and where developing countries are also suffering from the harshest impositions without them having any responsibility in creating the problems. So we are saying we need an entity in the UN that we're calling a debt workout mechanism, meaning it's an entity that is going to help working out collectively the problems of debt. And so this is why the Financing for Development Group started with this campaign that we're going to show you on promoting a debt workout mechanism. And since it's playing with the words workout and aerobics workout, but also working out in the debt problem, let us see this video of the FFD group. I don't think there is sound. Yes. Could we hear the sound of the video?
Wow.
Well, I can't hear the sound, hopefully for our next one, but what is happening here is outside the UN, and they're asking for a debt workout mechanism by playing, by doing an aerobic session outside the UN. There it is.
Feel it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Such energy.
That's Tove leading the action.
This is our call.
Yes. So this is our first aerobic session. I think this was in 2017, or I think this was 2018, but in April, and then the women took over, and then we organized our own debt workout mechanism dance. And so now Adriana, who was showing just there, hi Adriana. She's Adriana. Share with us the other, so that happened in April in the FFD forum, and this is what happened during HLPF, where we were inviting people to show up. Can we hear the sound?
You might recognize someone. Oh my god, we need to have the sound for this, really.
Yes. Let us give some time for Adriana to sort out the sound and play it again from the beginning. It seems like we're having some problems with the sound.
Who's that?
Who's that?
That's our aerobics cheerleader. Could we see it with sound? If you want, we can stop and then play it again.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Last time the sound worked when we actually, put it until the end. I don't know, like, sa.
I don't know because we're not hearing anything. Liliana, she's also saying we can't hear anything. Perhaps Adriana, if you want to come back to the main, come on to the to yes. Hi, Adriana. Maybe we can hear the sound.
Here.
We're here.
Uh, it's not
No,
working.
we can't.
It's okay. Maybe we can make a. We can dub this. Hey, hey,
Hey,
hey,
hey, hey,
hey,
hey.
hey, hey,
Yeah,
hey,
hey,
hey.
yeah, yeah.
What did we say before? I forgot the
I know.
lyrics.
It's like we were saying, all you women, all the women in the world,
All the women
And the
in the
women in
world.
the world.
join
So,
hands.
for people to know at home while we fix the volume here at the video, we were in HLPF, which is the High Level Political Forum in the UN, in trying to say that if we want to fulfill the sustainable development goals, we need to address the debt crisis, and we need to call back for a debt workout mechanism at the UN. So the women's major group and the women's working group organized this action outside the UN, and you see all of the here you will find many global activists are all from all around the world who traveled to the UN. And the previous day, we were organizing this march. So Rina had no voice whatsoever at night, and we met in Rina's apartment. And there were many other activists, and we sat down during dinner to write down the lyrics of our songs for this segment on the death workout mechanism. And we have a lovely video. I don't know if Adriana can play it. It depends on the sound. And we were writing down the lyrics and practicing at night of the song that we would be singing the following day. And Tetet is used to be the mobilizer and leading on the chants on every march. So Tetet was leading on the chant, while Rina was leading on all of the physical movements. And let me tell you, Rina, I was very sore the next day. I was like, this is just an action. My lower back hurts.
Let's do jumping jack. So I make it like very, very, very.
But
Well, it's a
actually, it
workout.
was Emilia who mobilized all of us.
Oh my God,
Remember,
that was
Rina, we were
amazing.
trying to write statements or whatever during the HLPF, and then she suddenly comes up to us and says, I need your help with those puppy eyes. And of course, how can we say no? So without even thinking, what do you need our help for? Yes, we're in.
Yes, that's right.
But I think it's also, something that we're able to inspire other people to come and join our action because it's easy enough for everyone to stretch. Our messages are clear, but it's also fun. You develop that bond among those global activists coming to these high level meetings, and we all know that we all face the same problems,
Yeah,
and that we all know that the solutions to our problems are structural and systemic. That's why we're able to unleash all that creativity and power, right? So
mm,
we dance to the death workout.
that's right.
I'm asking if I can share from my screen because I think I have the link in YouTube. So that could also be a possibility.
Yep.
What do you say, Adriana? Can I share it? Let me see. What is Adriana saying? Oh, there is the link. Let me copy and see if I can share it.
Yeah, I hope we're successful so that we can also inspire other folks that it's fun to struggle. We draw power from each
Exactly.
other, no? Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, I'm trying. I'm opening the link in my computer and then expanding.
That's another
Okay.
one.
Wait. So I have sound, and then I'm going to try to share screen. Let me see window. This one share, but what I it didn't follow
It
this
didn't
way
work
because
out.
it's asking me. It's asking me for many steps. Okay, we
Okay, I see.
can try. Mm-mm.
But maybe while we're waiting, Emilia, you can also share with us what is this death workout mechanism? Does
Now,
it
talk
actually
about
involve
amongst yourselves so
aerobics?
that I can talk about amongst yourselves what I'm trying to share my screen. That's my
Okay,
purpose.
Rina, now I'm asking you, why do we need this mechanism? Is it actual workout? What is this death workout mechanism?
Yeah, I think that we actually have like the campaign of campaigns have also like the call for action for this, right? And then what is actually the demands from us? I think that Amelia also already mentioned it. Like what we actually want is not only suspension. We want permanent cancellation of external debt payment, right? For at least how many years to all developing countries in need without any penalties, right? And then we also want to actually have the provision of additional emergency finance without creating more debt or creating more conditionalities that we are talking about, right? And then also, like Amelia already explained before, how like developing country is actually got several lawsuits when they try to seize their payment. So we need to actually protection for of developing countries from that kind of lawsuit when when seizing their payments at national and multilateral level. So that's also one of our demands. And then a lot of it is actually also talking about debt relief initiative to bring developing countries also debt down to sustainable level, right? So it is also very important that we look into it. And then how we can actually, really look at this in mechanism at the UN that will comprehensively address unsustainable and illegitimate debt. Right now, I'm just
And I think
yeah.
it's good to also let everyone know that campaign of campaigns is actually advocating for citizens' participation in resolving the debt problem. This is not just something that governments or institutions are going to talk among themselves. No, we have to be involved because the people, the population, are actually carrying the burden of the consequences of the debt problems and the conditionalities. So
Yeah.
I think when we mentioned earlier about illegitimate debts, we have a right to scrutinize, all of these debts, especially those that were incurred by dictators like Suharto and Marcos. And we can cancel out, we can write out these debts because they did not really benefit the people. These were just white elephant projects, no, that serve the dictators' whim and fancy. So why are we going to suffer until now paying off these loans that did not benefit the people in the first place? No.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then also just to also mention about the UN and etc. And then the advocacy behind it, and the advocacy to the UN. Actually, like there are a lot of recognition about the what do you call it, the impact of unsustainable debt, right, to developing countries and etc. Uh, the thing is, like, there's this. I just found out, like, several months ago, the member state of the UN Human Rights Council is actually recently, that time is actually voted on whether to continue the mandate of the independent expert on foreign debt to investigate the impact of debt and human rights. There is an independent
Yes.
expert actually have that, right? That's really, really appalling that many of the countries actually voted no, for that. They feel that we don't need it anymore, the independent expert. So this is actually the same culprit who also opposing the TRIPS waiver on vaccines, for instance, right? So we have like Germany, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, France, Denmark, Brazil, like all of that. I can hear something.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Rina. We made it.
Yeah.
Adriana and Ale from Equidad just made it. So just wanted to explain the context because this was an alliance leader, the youth. Ashish was from the youth movement. So there are also people from the stakeholder on aging and the women's major group and the women's working group on financing for development. So this is an alliance of many groups, and of course, this is an initiative by the Financing for Development CSO group. But let's see it! Yay!
In the belly of the beast. Join the fight to be debt free. Join the fight to be debt free. From Puerto Rico, Philippines.
Puerto Rico,
Let
Philippines.
the people be debt free.
Let people be debt free.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Human rights, who's it for? Human rights, who's it for? People's
Including gender equality.
lives, we fight for. Poor people under attack. People worldwide, we fight back.
I really thought that this is the end, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the end.
No,
But
there's
no,
more.
But wait, there's more.
This is the part that I was like, Rina.
Mabel, look, oh my god, like our woman major group.
You really worked us all out, huh?
I loved it that the aging group was more energetic than us.
Oh, this is like,
Yay!
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really
Yes.
need to have that lyrics. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
we should dig in and find it in our files. All of those materials are lost, but I don't know, Adriana, if you have the video of us practicing the night before. That was amazing. We have a file out there. Let's see if Adriana can find it. If not, we can show it the next time. Rina is trying to practice and she has no voice and she's thinking, oh, the people in the street.
And I can't believe where we still managed to find the energy, to think about our next action, considering that that day we were coming from a march. No, we
Yes,
organized an
that is
activity whole day.
right.
Yeah.
And then it's from where? From Times Square to the UN, right? We walk like quite, long, and it is hot. And then, we were like screaming and then doing our march. Yeah, but it was great, I mean, like, I really enjoy it, and then how the solidarity that people, like, join the actions from the march, and then we tell everyone, hey, this is happening. We are going to have a debt workout
Yes.
mechanism, and then people are coming in. So Yeah, that kind of
And
activism.
I remember people saying, "What is a dead workout mechanism?" Of course, I'm going to show up and do aerobics with you outside the UN, but what is a dead workout mechanism? So now this is why we are really doing all of these lives of the despised girls, because it is very important that everybody knows the relevance of a dead workout mechanism. The UN is the
Yeah,
universal
yeah.
house for all the people. Oh, there it is. Play it, Adriana.
You have
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. We are voicing our demands. We are voicing our demands. Rise up now and take a stand. Rise up now and take a stand. Human rights, who's it for? Human rights, who's it for? People's lives we fight for. People's lives we fight for. Say yeah, yeah, yeah. Say yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. See no change in the UN. See no change in the UN. People's rights we must defend. People's rights
People's
we
rights
must
we must
defend.
defend.
People under attack. People under attack. People worldwide we fight back. People
People
worldwide we
worldwide
fight
we fight
back.
back.
Say yeah, yeah, yeah. Say yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Global South, raise your fist.
Wow! I love it!
Oh,
Oh my God! I love the.
and and you saw the white sheet that is all crossed out and
We
right
were
written
making
in
up
the.
the words, no, as we
Yes,
were
we were
doing it.
working on the lyrics.
Global
But
South,
Yeah,
raise your fist.
but
and
it
I
was
don't know,
really
Adriana.
coming from our heart, no? It's like
Oh,
Yes,
our lived
correct.
experiences.
so send
She
us
Same
was
as
message
in
that
the
asking.
who
women
do the
major
lyrics belong
group.
to.
We all wrote it down. Those who were at that dinner, and we actually had a great dinner at home. I think it was Nalini cooking, or one of you cooking. It was also
Me,
good.
I
Yeah,
was
it's Tatan
cooking.
actually.
Tata was leading the march. She was cooking. She was singing, and we were all writing the lyrics. And hopefully, there is that other video of Rina trying to sing while Teter was, I don't know, somewhere else in the apartment, because it's so good. I love it because what I like about this is that it's the activist live doing the
Yes.
previous work. It's not just going out and showing up a very well thought of idea. And so we have the video, so we go to the comms and introduce it to the world. It really requires a lot of time, and if all of us are together drinking wine and drinking beer, sitting on the floors, writing down the lyrics, there it is.
There is
Okay.
another one.
Oh, let's see. Yeah,
I'm trying
that's
to
really.
see.
Go, Rina.
People are under attack, and then yes, we see no change in the UN. It's
So
people's
bad.
right we must defend.
Listen, Rina has no voice.
Poor people under attack. People's worldwide we fight back. People's worldwide we fight back. Say yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't have any.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I love
Oh
it.
really?
Oh my gosh, time flies
Oh,
so fast. It's
Yeah,
oh
already
wow!
almost
Already like
1 hour.
already 1 hour.
well, let us
This is
commit
amazing.
in finding the lyrics of the full chant, and so that we can share it with the campaign of campaigns social media. Do follow us on social media. Lots of content we will be sharing in the most urgent agendas. And so sad. Anything you want to say before closing? We didn't even have time for our weather report, but next
Next time. Next
episode we
time.
will do it. Anything else?
What are we gonna talk about next session?
I think we
Yeah.
need to start talking about feminist global activism, right? Yes,
So it's going to
that is going to
happen the
be.
next session there. You can see it. It's going to be on August 5. Yeah, so
Yes,
drop
yes,
your dates.
Session
yes,
4 on August 5.
yes. And thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Ted
Thank
Thank
and
you
you.
so
Tina, for this
much.
time
Until
too.
the next session.